Welcome to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas. Here you'll find our family as we strive to live a life that pleases the Lord. We do our best to make the most out of what we've been given, so we'd like to invite you to come along and join us on our journey.
Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to Heritage Acres Homestead. I'm Chas, and today I thought we would talk about water glassing eggs again. Now, I did a video 3 or 4 years ago when I first started doing it. It was something that I was intrigued with. I'm always willing to try something new when it comes to food preservation. If I feel like it's something that will help us and save us some money and preserve the best food we can as we grow it or buy it or barter with it. And so we have an abundance of eggs still. I did a video maybe a couple of months ago about ways to preserve those eggs, but I didn't talk about water glassing because I wanted to save that for a video by itself. Since doing the first video on water glassing, there's been some things that I've learned. As with any person, we should do something, learn from it, and adapt if need be. And that's what I've done. And I'm going to share with you what I've learned, what I prefer, what I don't like anymore. And hopefully this will give you more encouragement on whether you want to try this or not, or whether it's not an option for you. I did give you some other ideas in the last video that I did, sharing how you could freeze them. If you had a freeze dryer, you could do that and whatnot. I'll try to link both of those videos in the description so you can go back and watch those if you haven't already. So let's talk about what I do now and what I prefer. In the past, I've water glassed in gallon jars and even buckets. And I'll be honest with you. The first couple of batches were fine. And I think I used them maybe about 12 months to 18 months down the road, and that was okay. I didn't necessarily love them. And this is where I'm gonna shoot straight with you. I know there's people that saying you can leave them up to 5 years. Maybe. I'm not going that long. I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you exactly what I think and what I've learned, and there is no way I would go 5 years with them that way. That's just me. I do think that they preserve them well enough. There was no bad smell. There was no bad taste. They worked well enough till about the 12-month mark for me. At 18 months, the yolks were completely just, they broke apart. They were kind of watery, and I didn't love them. I did use them in like some baking, and it was subpar. So for me, this is my plan now. I'm not going to preserve any eggs until about July-ish, which we're getting very close, maybe end of June like we are now, and forward. Because when our chickens like shut down, it seems like, is usually October-ish through December-ish. That's when they just kind of quit laying and we have a drought. And it usually seems like come end of December, when the light starts coming back a little bit at a time, they start picking up here a little more and little more as the days get longer. And so for me, if we start putting up in July. So we got July, August, September, October, November, December. If we started in June, if we started in July, then we've got through January. That should cover our drought pretty easily. And so that, in my mind, is the best method for us. Because I want to use them before the 12-month mark. That's the sweet spot, in my opinion. The yolks are firm. There's very little crackage, or I'm telling y'all, we had some, especially in the bigger batches, where eggs would crack, and that was a nasty mess. I did not love that. That's another thing that we're going to talk about in a moment. But so using them between our egg drought, and until we get eggs again, this is the best use of my time and resources, I think. Again, lime is not expensive. This little bag, I think, is running around $4 or $5 now. And I use water from the Berkey. And so just use, filtered water, purified water, and then our fresh eggs. So let's start, and I'm going to try to give you, hey, be careful. Abram has a new puppy, so I'm on mamaw duty for puppies today, it looks like. So anyways, let's get started, and let me give you some tips and my reasons for doing it the way that I do it now. All right. Number one, I want eggs when we do not have eggs. And that, like I said, is usually between October to January. And I'm not saying we will have none. It could be that we have none, but we have very little. So to have eggs for baking and for scrambles and whatnot, I will do this. Now, I do not want to use these eggs that I preserved for hard-boiled eggs. It's not an option for these type of eggs. I wouldn't want to use these eggs for pickling. If you want to pickle, you pickle them when they're super fresh, like, just gathered. But I do use these for baking, scrambles, fried eggs, those kind of things. And so starting in late June, early July, all the way through August or whatever, that's when I'm going to start putting up till I get as many as I think we need. Number two, another thing that I do not do now is make large batches. I thought in the beginning, I'll just make 2 or 3 gallons and that'll be plenty. And it worked. And being that I do it this way now, so I don't keep them as long, it might still be fine. But I'm doing smaller batches. Smaller batches with, like, in quart jars, or at the most a half-gallon jar. A wide mouth quart jar, I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 eggs in there. I think I could probably get another one if I moved them around just a little bit better. And I think I have like a jumbo in there too. So not hardly a dozen, but with this, there's not so much weight going on, and I feel like there will be less crackage. And like I said before, that cracked egg sitting in that lime water is gross. It smells, and it's just nasty. But again, I was keeping them way longer than I probably will be for these. So that's another thought to take into account. Again, let's go over let's go over how we water glass again. So these are eggs that have been laid within the last couple of days. The ones I've already got in the jar and the ones here. I'm looking for very clean, very good shells with no cracks, no spots of poop or hay stuck to them that can't just come off with a quick handle. Like this one here, that feather I can brush right off. This one, where did it go? I had one for an example. Oh, I buried it. This one here that has a large piece of poop on it. Nope, this is a no-go for this method. So I will set it aside. For us, we have one layer and ours are all out, so I don't know who lays what. If you've got the ability to know exactly who's laying what in your coop, more power to you, but our chickens are all over the place and I don't know who lays what. So we have one layer. Here it is. And she lays beautiful eggs, but the shells are not as tough as the rest of them. And so I'm going to choose not to preserve this beautiful egg. It's a very large, and when we compare it, it's a large egg, but the shell is weaker than the others. So I won't be preserving her eggs. I'll just use those fresh. So no poop, no, if they've been rained on or washed, you do not want to use those. You want them just, freshly laid within the last day or so. You want them clean, and you want to know that they have good, solid shells. If there's any, like if you can see that there's a weak spot, or sometimes like on this one, there is almost a transparency look that just shows me her egg shells are a little bit weaker than others, and she's the only one. So I might think, oh goodness, I need calcium in my coop because this layer is weak, but none of the rest of the eggs are weak. So I know it's just whatever it is with her. And I still may put out some crumbled egg shells that I've dried up in their feed just to help. But again, I can't specify which is which. So it would just have to be across the board that I put it out. Let's see. All right. So now I have a quart of water from my Berkey. And to that quart of water, I will add 1 ounce by weight of my lime. Now this is by weight. It's not by spoonfuls. It's not by, you want to do it by weight, okay? And another thing that I do now, and once you weigh this out, you want to mix it in with your water. So 1 quart of water per 1 ounce of lime. And lime is scientific name calcium hydroxide. You do not want to use anything other than calcium hydroxide. If there is an additive, if it's calcium hydroxide and this, no. Pure 100% calcium hydroxide is what you want. And like I said, this is what it's labeled as at our stores. you know, if you're getting them at Walmart or a canning supply shop or even your grocery stores, some grocery stores carry it. That's what you want. Food grade calcium hydroxide. All right, I think in the last video I showed you, I may have added the water first and then put the eggs in. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to lay my eggs into the jar, pour the water lime mixture into my egg tower, my jar of eggs. It just, instead of trying to displace that and seeing, oh, I've got too much water in there. This way, I'll pour the water in, I'll give it a little shake, let everybody settle. If there's room, I'll add another egg. If there's not, I'll add a lid, date it, put it on the shelf. It's a very, very simple technique, y'all. And I know not everybody loves the idea of doing this. Heaven help me. The comment section on that one video was crazy. The comment section on my last video was wild. Some people pro, lots of people against. So, you know, I'm not here telling you guys, and I'll say this all the time, I'm not here telling you to do this. I'm not. I'm here telling you this is what I do. You can choose to do this. You cannot choose to do this. If you don't feel that it's safe, don't do it. If you feel that it sounds like a good idea, go ahead and give it a try. This is your prerogative as a free American. Now, I'm going to get a little bit salty for a second. I hear constantly, well, the FDA doesn't say that this is an approved method. Well, the FDA doesn't say this, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. The FDA tells me not to drink my own milk. The milk that I raise the animals, that I go and milk out myself, and that I come in and filter, chill, and refrigerate, the milk that I turn into cheese or yogurt or whatnot else, they tell me not to drink it. They tell me not to do XYZ. Things that I am very much pro, they tell me don't. So really, I don't care. They say don't. So if that's your argument, you can just, you know, go along, because it doesn't faze me that you want to do what they want to do. That's the whole thing. You want to not do this, that is absolutely your privilege. I do want to do this, and that's absolutely my privilege. So, and I say that with as much love and respect as one can say, because that's the beautiful thing. Right now, we have the freedoms to do what we want to with our food and inside our homes, and I do not take that for granted, and I will fight for those freedoms, because the same ones that tell me that this is not okay are the same ones that are encouraging bioengineered foods, spraying our crops with pesticides and herbicides and everything else. Not a box that I'm going out on right now. I'm just giving you a little taste of where I am. So if, again, I was even told last time on the last video that there was people that used my video as a what not to do. I guess that's their choice. Just like it's my choice that I'm going to do it. So, enough of that negativity. I'm not trying to be a negative person here. I just want to tell you that I believe what I believe. I'm firm in my convictions, and if you're thinking in your comments that you're going to change my mind, you might want to just go somewhere else. So let's continue. Alrighty. So I've got my scale here, and I've got a little bowl, so I don't have to try to measure it other ways. And I'm gonna scoop out 1 ounce. I thought I got the one that was open. Alrighty. This is very powdery. So I got just a smidge more than 1 ounce there. There we go. 1 ounce. I'm going to take that and I'm going to add it to my water. I'm not going to be able to fit this. Nope, I'm not going to be able to fit that in there to stir. So let me grab a spoon and we'll continue. All right, so right now you see it's just made it very cloudy. I'm going to stir this up. Again, the measurements is 1 quart with 1 ounce by weight. All right, I've got my jar here with eggs. Again, these are all fresh and they're all very clean. I have not washed them. They're just straight from the coop. I'm gonna pour this over my eggs, and you want to make sure every egg is completely submerged. So if I can't shimmy this around a little bit and get this last egg completely submerged, I'll need to take it out. Now, right now, you'll see that my eggs are, the mixture is very cloudy. But by the time everything settles, it's likely it's going to be clear and then maybe some sediment down here. That's okay. All right, y'all. So this egg is still not completely submerged. So I'm gonna pull it out because I do not want any bits of the egg, even the smallest little bit of egg, out of the water. I'm gonna add just a smidge more water in here. Everybody's covered fully. I'm gonna add a lid. I'm gonna date it, and this is gonna go on my shelf. I may even put that there's 8 eggs in here. Like however many eggs, write it on the outside. And if you choose to, you don't have to. But I do suggest dating it. That way, of course, you can go through your first ones first. And then as you if you do another batch next week, use them after you use your first batch. And that's what I would probably suggest doing, is add to it once a week or twice a week, add another jar. Depending on how many you need. Now, for my family, I never, even for just a few of us, I always scramble at least a dozen eggs. So I could choose to go with a 1/2 gallon and easily be able to get a dozen eggs in here. And that's not a bad idea. I did not use half gallons last year, or not last year, but last time. I used gallons. And the gallons were okay, but like I said, if I were just using them for a year or less, I think it'd be fine. But if I'm wanting to do longer than that, and that again is your prerogative if you choose to do that, then I might definitely want to go smaller. And then there's always the food grade buckets. This one I think is just 1 gallon. And you can use buckets that have good lids because you don't want the water to evaporate. So every one of these that you use, any one of these that you use, you need a good fitting lid, because that water will evaporate if you're not careful. And if you do see evaporation, you can come back in with some more lime water and top it off. When you dispose of your water, go put it somewhere that you don't pour it down your sink. It's not a good idea. Don't pour it out just somewhere in your yard. Go to the high weeds, go to the ditch, go to somewhere that it's not going to be a place where, you know, your animals are going to be, where you're going to want your yard pretty, or you're going to plant something, because it does kind of, it's sort of like, you know, when you use vinegar and salt and water to burn the weeds, it'll burn the weeds. So go pour it outside somewhere where nothing really gets to. And just, you know, spread it out. Don't do it in one big pile. But so this is what I suggest, and you can take my suggestions if you like, and do with it what you will. But for me and our home, I'm going to put up probably in half gallons or quarts, and put enough up for 1 year at the most, and then use that during our lean times. And that's the beautiful thing about it, I think, is it will help us get through those lean times, because last year I did have to buy eggs at the grocery store, and it was during that time when eggs at the grocery store were looking at $7, $8. And it was hard, especially, like I said, for us who can, if we do a breakfast scramble, we're using at least 1 to 2 dozen eggs. That's if everybody's home, or if I'm going to, because it never goes to waste. If we don't eat it all, I wrap it up in burritos and freeze it. So it's, you know, it's in our freezer. Because my husband really enjoys taking frozen burritos. We'll get one out the night prior, leave it out in his lunchbox, and then by the time he goes into work, it's thawed and ready for him to eat. He doesn't take the time to microwave it. He'll eat it at room temperature. And that's, you know, that's another good way that we preserve eggs. There are many ways that we preserve them.
But to keep these shelf stable, this is my preferred method.
So remember, don't wash your eggs. Look for the cleanest eggs possible that are not washed. Make sure they've been laid within the last day or two. If there are weak spots, or if you know it's a weak shell, don't use it. Mix your water, 1 quart water, with 1 ounce by weight of lime. My suggestion is to fill your jar first, and then pour the lime water inside. My preference is to use them in your lean times. I don't like using them a lot more than 12 months, my preference. And I do want to preserve them in smaller batches. And even though this, I assume, would go without saying, just in case, you know, I just want to cover my tracks. You would not want to try this method with store-bought eggs or eggs from someone that you did not know, that they have been gathered in the last day or so. This is best for very fresh, unwashed, pastured eggs. Just want to make sure that was clear. So there you go. That's my tips on water glassing eggs from the years that I've been doing it now, what I've learned, what I like, what I don't. And hopefully that'll give you some ideas on how you can preserve eggs for your family, and if this is a method that you want to try. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.